Good evening, Ice Nation. So we're gonna get back to the talk show here. I got Joey and Warrior with us, just our regular guys,
Hey.
and we're gonna get right into it. So the first topic here is the Missouri governor says that if the couple, I think you guys remember these two people that were defending their home from the massive mob that actually broke their fence and broke into their property. He said that he would pardon them if they were charged with brandishing guns on their own private property, which is completely legal. What do you guys' thoughts on that?
First of all,
it's definitely
good for him.
Yeah. So
That's
to
the way it
add
should be.
to this too, the mayor, I'm pretty sure the mayor wanted them to be charged.
That's not
What I
surprising.
remember, the mayor wanted him to be charged, and they actually, right after this happened, they sent the police in and confiscated all their guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was true
Did they
too.
confiscate all of them? I heard it was just the AR, right?
The pistol too.
I think they went in with a search warrant and confiscated all their weapons.
Scary.
For defending their own property. They didn't step off of their own property. They didn't shoot anyone, so there was no reason for it to be taken for forensics issues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think they even pointed at any of them at anyone. I think they were just. I'd have to rewatch the video, but I think they were just holding them.
I mean,
Fair point.
technically,
One of
if you
the
look
dudes
at
got
the
it down.
picture, it looks like the wife is pointing at her husband's head.
I think she's a bit further behind him. I think she's just pointing up in the air. She definitely should be retrained. I was reading
Oh, yeah.
something about that pistol isn't even functional, apparently.
Why? That's such a bad idea. Why would you brandish a non-functional pistol?
Because I'm pretty sure she doesn't have, like the pistol's not in her name or something, so she could have gotten charged in that state
Yeah.
for having the pistol.
But either way,
Okay.
you're defending your home.
Yeah. We good for the next topic here?
Oh yeah.
Alright, so next, I think the next few is going to be a bit more about riot-oriented. The majority of the stream is going to be riot. So we have a black man was holding an American flag and telling protesters in Portland, which if you guys have paid any attention to the news, is definitely peaceful, and there's nothing bad going on there at all. And he's telling them, none of you guys represent Black Lives Matter. There's a video, but it's not actually on Twitter, so I can't play it for you guys, or we'll get in trouble.
Yeah, this guy is great. I mean, I saw some of this where they wanted to break down the fence to get into that federal courthouse and destroy it. He
I have
just
videos
stood
of
there,
that too.
yeah, standing his ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy, yeah, people. Oh, sorry, what?
I saw the video of some dude chucking a fucking like IED, like it literally wasn't a firework, it was a straight up fucking bomb towards the courthouse.
Oh yeah.
Top comment is, I have noticed that there isn't a lot of minority representation among the protesters, which I have also noticed. I have noticed that there's a lot of white people that are trying to quote unquote help them,
Yeah.
which is only making things worse because violence never solves anything. I don't know if you guys went to elementary school, learned that, but violence never solves anything. Unless you're in war, then it does solve stuff.
Is violence the answer? No, it's not. It's the question. And the answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think this is our only non-riot oriented thing for the first half of the show here. So if you guys live under a rock, maybe you haven't heard this, but you've probably heard this. And actually, did you notice how quickly this went out of the news? It lasted like a day. So
Yeah, real fast.
the federal judge that was ruling over the Epstein, and I don't remember what bank it was, the case for like,
Deutsche Bank.
yeah, okay, something like that, yeah. So there was a hitman dressed in FedEx clothes that showed up to her house and killed her son and injured the husband. And I was trying to see if I can find if the husband is okay, but I wasn't able to find anything. If you guys find anything, let me know. Hopefully he's
Probably
okay.
live if there isn't.
Oh, and then because he fucked up his job, the hitman, because he fucked up his job, he suicided himself somewhere at a different location. And the FBI is looking into this, so you
Yeah.
know, clearly
suicided
it's a much
himself.
bigger problem than a lot of people are led to believe it
Yeah,
is.
there's definitely some shit going on. Like, there's definitely some fucking world leaders, some like,
It's like a-
politicians in the U.S. that are involved in this shit. Like, that's
a straight out of some like deep state movie.
Yeah. I'm
Fucking A,
pretty
dude.
sure the package he was delivering was sent from an address, and the name was from Clinton, I think.
he actually he did have a package with their name and address on it too to make it look more legit, so they would open
Yeah.
up the door.
I'm pretty sure it was sent by somebody named Clinton.
Yeah. Or someone that's high up that's like that's involved. I mean, Clinton's probably
yeah.
involved.
Well, that was part of the whole thing, and what they suspected with Epstein, because there was rumors and reports of how Bill Clinton was at his private island and whatnot, and they used to hang out all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our country's definitely run by pedophiles, like the wealthy elite.
Oh yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
a bunch of pedophiles.
We gotta drain the swamp. Next thing is AOC is pushing for a ban on all unmarked police officers, and they have to give anyone that asks their name. Which, first of all, if you look at the picture that this article's from, it says unidentified federal agents are detaining protesters in Portland. But on the picture on the actual article, I don't even have to zoom in, and you can see that his badge number is NZ39. And it clearly says right here, Border Patrol. And just in case you're blind, there's a zoomed in picture, NZ39, and it says Border Patrol. So clearly they're marked and identified. He doesn't have a face covering. He's identified. You can see his face. If he did do something and you needed a not spectator. The hell's that word? Witness. If you needed a witness to pick him out of a crowd, you would be able to, because you could still see his face, and you can get a general grasp of his height and all that stuff. And AOC is wanting to make this a national law, which clearly has problems for federal officers because they do a lot of undercover work. I don't know if you guys know this. They do a lot of child sex trafficking. The Border Patrol does a crap load of stuff for drugs, unless you guys want more hardcore drugs in the country. And even regular police departments have undercover stings on stuff that would now be illegal because that's unidentified.
Yeah, there definitely should be an exemption in that law for undercover. Like, I can definitely see like why it would be a good thing to have officers who aren't going undercover having some sort of identification on them. Like you said, like last name's a little sketchy for federal officers because like they do some like that could be bad. But there should definitely be like identification on them if they're not doing like undercover work.
No, that's what the badge number is though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you report him, you just report his badge number, and then his internal affairs would look into it.
Badge number generally is what has to be given no matter what. As far as the name, most departments, it's their policy as far as the name on them. But it's the badge number is the important thing because that's a unique identifying. Because like you could say Officer Smith, and it's like in New York City, how many Smiths are on the department?
Absolutely.
Where a badge number is unique to one specific officer.
I think the general idea of the bill is going in the right direction, but I think like the specifics in it are pretty fucking dumb.
Well, see, this is the other thing too. Is like with Border Patrol and like gang units or anything. The repercussions that would come from MS-13. Hey, we have a new commentator.
There's nothing out here. There's nothing, guys. There's no deers. There's no foxes. There's nothing. The hell do you see, Rich?
Protesters.
Movement! Okay. Let's get back to it. It's okay. Let's get back to it. Okay.
Alright. But, as I was saying, you have, especially Border Patrol, but the gang units and local PDs and everything else, who they deal with groups like MS-13, Bloods, Crips, where as soon as their name is identified, their families are in danger. It's not just about them.
I don't think there should be any type of name identification at all. Personally.
No, not when it gets to a certain point.
I don't think there should be anything that's undercover. And there was no provisions for that at all in the bill. Every officer needed to provide their name, badge number, their department, their rank. It's basically just like, hey, this is how you find me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a cop. Here's my home address. Here's my wife's maiden name.
No,
yeah.
This shirt
Here's
means
my bank
nothing.
account.
This shirt means nothing, Mr. Pedophile. I'm not an officer.
Yeah.
I bought this at Walmart.
Yeah. On to the next thing. We have a video here. So this young woman was painting. This is like the fourth time. This video is probably like fourth time that she's painted over the Black Lives thing that's on the street in New York City. And she just shouts a bunch of times, "Refund the police." Her movement, if I can remember correctly, I think it's Jesus Lives Matter. Jesus something matter.
I believe so. She is a she goes on the stance of she's heavily Christian, she's anti-abortion and whatnot, and was saying that basically Black Lives Matter is I don't even want to word this improperly, but doesn't matter. It's Jesus and children's lives and everything is what matters.
The priority of
right.
things.
God, that cop needs to get fucking retrained.
Okay,
well, the funny
let's
thing
start
is,
playing the video here. Give me a second, let's play the video. So, obviously they don't want to get paint on him, but the guy that went down, he's never going to let this down, ever. His department is going to shit on him forever for this.
Oh yeah,
as they should.
Jesus matters! Jesus matters!
You do realize this is locker had a year's
And then you got the people in the background. Why don't you stop her? Stop her! I mean, if I was the cop, I'd let her keep going. Fuck that.
Oh yeah. Well, unfortunately, the problem that fell with this is they didn't want to stop her. They were under orders from
De Blasio.
Yeah, De Blasio.
The mayor.
That is considered a monument and not allowed to be vandalized.
Yeah.
That cop that ate shit is not having a good time in the rest of that video. He must have hit his head hard.
He must have like had something on his vest that like hit him when he fell.
Yeah, something happened.
Yeah.
Hopefully
he's okay.
On the ground, fucking. Hopefully.
Next video. Next video. So, in terms of refunding the police, we have a few little headlines that you guys might be interested in seeing. So,
I remember this one.
This one's in New York City. 7 people were killed in just 24 hours as shootings in New York City spike to over 176%.
And the funny thing is that day, this specific story, it actually turned into at least 8, because I know they updated it an hour or two after this was posted.
And then
it was listed as 8.
So what changed between now and before it jumped to 176%, might you ask? I'll tell you. We defunded the police. You got what you wanted. Now there's less cops on the street, so now they can't protect people as well.
And not just that, but this is New York City. They defunded the police by the amount of $1 billion with a B dollars.
Yeah, and they took away their anti-crime unit.
They took away the anti-crime unit, and they did, like I said, $1 billion off of a $6 billion a year budget. So it's not like they said, well, we'll just cut like 2%. No, we're going to take like 30%.
Yeah.
And then de Blasio's answer on it was he didn't expect the police department to cut jobs at all. He expected them to, how was it he worded it? To better learn to manage their money.
When they're already short-funded.
Yeah. So
maybe
that was
only
his
part like
answer.
I think the only part of like I guess like defunding the police in air quotes that I agree with is there like are some calls that police respond to that they definitely could have other people respond to that aren't police, like non-violent shit like that. I think there are definitely some calls they could have social workers respond to, but the rest of it's like, in my opinion, need to go the other direction.
But then that's a whole nother department that you have to fund.
Yeah, exactly.
That's number one. Or, I mean, personal opinion, you want to defund the police department? First thing you take away from them, Narcan. People want to do heroin and OD.
That's true. We use
Sorry.
the departments use a lot of money in Narcan and other life-saving stuff for people that are doing things illegally.
Mm-hmm. And I know in my area, I've talked to a few officers who have said point blank, there are places where they go 3 to 4 times a week to the same person for overdoses.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And as soon as they're hit with Narcan, that's it. They're done. They refuse medical treatment from that point on.
It's their
And
saving grace.
and because it's covered under HIPAA laws, they can no longer be charged with a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And then once Narcan wears off, they probably start ODing again 20 minutes later.
Pretty much. Like I said, I know the one officer says they have certain people they go to a minimum of 3 to 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So next
I
we
live
have
in a small town.
yeah. Next we have a single mother who had lost her job from the coronavirus and has been struggling to pay bills, won a lottery, and she donated her winnings to a police officer that got shot in the line of duty, I'm assuming during the riots.
That's cool.
That is awesome. Yeah,
That is awesome. You are an American patriot, young lady.
Yes, she is. That's something you just don't hear of every day anymore.
That's what it means to be American right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Terry Crews, he warned us, you know. He warned us. Not us. He warned everyone. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the video from last week. He's talking about how Black Lives Matter should not morph into Black Lives Better, which is exactly what happens here. So this person named Roland posted, hence why black people dominate athletically as well as when we can erase white people through procreation in every aspect of physicality. We are superior. I'm sorry your feelings are hurt by truth.
Okay, imagine if a white guy said something like that.
That's just
fucking canceled.
Yeah.
Send the tweet.
Yeah, if a white guy said something like that, you guys would be calling for him to go to jail.
Oh yeah, go to jail.
You guys would be trying to find his address.
A firebomb in his house.
I wonder what the comments are like on that original tweet.
We can take a look. Top comment. If his statement is true, then why does one little island in the Caribbean account for over 40% of Major League Baseball, which has the greatest baseball players in the world? Are they athletically superior to baseball, or do they just focus more efforts in that direction? Which is a huge statement.
Oh yeah.
Because
like
wait a minute, that was not the original post.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a whole feed, but it's in reference to Nick Cannon's statement. Nick Cannon said, right. So then let's go to what it really is then. When we talk about the power of melanated people, which I guess is black people.
Melanated, melatonin.
Like,
yes,
yeah.
The pigmentation of the skin.
So just don't. Is that like the new socially acceptable word for black people now?
I guess so.
Okay, when we talk about who we really are as gods and understand that our melanin is so powerful, I'm assuming, and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see that Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is the fear in that. Which don't make no sense to me personally. But his original comment before, when he said the black people dominating physically, he said on top of black people were breeded like dogs for hundreds of years and tortured, had to survive the Middle Passage, were given the worst food hundreds of years. Anyone who can survive all that, their offspring is just going to be physically tougher and stronger. Which may be true, but you might be forgetting that every country had white slaves as well. Bet you didn't know that one. Rome, Egypt.
Look at the Vikings. They just took slaves from everywhere they went.
That too.
But good for them.
Their slaves were usually just prisoners of war.
They were prisoners of war, but also the Vikings were different, where they earned their freedom.
Yeah.
Over times of they served the Viking community they were taken from by, and ended up earning their freedom and becoming, I believe, part of the unit.
This video, but U.S. and China tensions are rising again And this time, the U.S. has accused China of sponsoring 2 hackers trying to find the vaccine for the COVID-19 virus, which, last I heard, they don't have any more cases, so why would they need a vaccine already? But
Well, that's easy because if they can get the vaccine, they can produce it there
and oh,
at
that's
a,
true. And they can sell it
at a
to
lower
everybody.
cost and then hold
They
the
can
rest of
ship
the world
everybody
hostage
else.
selling it.
That's true. I
Was
didn't
that a
even think
real
about that.
report from the WHO saying they had no new COVID deaths and cases? Was that an
Yeah.
actual report from the WHO?
They just, yeah, the WHO says they're a model of how to deal with the virus. And
Gross.
clearly, they didn't
Yeah.
spread it everywhere.
Yeah, if somebody gets sick, disappear them.
Yeah,
Fucking
make
North
them
Korea's doing that.
disappear.
Mhm.
Yeah. They learned their tactics from the Clintons.
So now we have a video of. So the U.S., in retaliation to this, ordered the Chinese consulate in Houston to close, and then China ordered a U.S. consulate somewhere in China to close. And you don't see the video, but they were burning papers outside of their consulate for whatever reason.
Yeah, whatever reason. Wonder why.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to hide, though.
No, not at all.
Okay, and then
What is that? What's that? It's our fortune cookie recipes.
and then we have the mainstream media lie about peaceful protesting. So we have a
Oh,
few videos and articles. I mean, you saw the 2 articles earlier about people dying. That wasn't really protest related. That was just more of the effects of not having officers patrolling as frequently. Okay, this is with that actually. So gangs of armed children as young as 10. Could you imagine a 10-year-old with a gun in Chicago, and they've carried out at least 16 carjackings? Can you imagine you're driving along and a 10-year-old aims a gun at you, tells you get out your car, and steals your
Like,
car? A
what the
10-year-old.
fuck?
And you tell me that people aren't taught to be bad people. I don't know a single 10-year-old that would do that where I live.
Yeah, no kidding. Unfortunately, it comes out that it ends up being gang related. And now also, I have to add this because this just happened in the last day or two. I think it was yesterday. That in Chicago, the new police chief who was just appointed, they found him that he committed suicide in his office.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
Or at least that's what's being reported as. Yeah, he was just appointed and they found him. I think it was yesterday he committed suicide in his office.
that's terrible.
If it was suicide.
Yeah,
Let's be honest, it's Chicago.
yeah, that's pretty bad. I
But
didn't
that's a
see
little
that.
that's a little skeptical right there.
Yeah. So now we go on to the topic of the mainstream media lie about protests being peaceful, especially in the major cities that maybe some people have been seeing if they tune into. Fox sometimes shows it. One American News is really good at showing it. And there's probably a lot of independent news people that show it too. So the Daily Mail says more violent clashes across the U.S. as cops fire tear gas at demonstrators in Portland. Personally, I hate the way that they wrote this. They're making it seem like a lot of mainstream media is making it seem like the cops are escalating shit. Like the way that they worded this, they were fine, and then the cops shot tear gas at the demonstrators, and then it became violent. Not vice versa. Usually, you do tear gas to disperse a crowd when they're being violent or maybe threatening, or maybe they have been violent in the past, which they have. For days, weeks, months. Anyone have anything for this before I move to the next thing?
Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? I think Donut Operator said in this video, I think it's specifically Portland, but it's probably pretty true in a lot of areas, how like nighttime is probably when most of that shit kicks off. Like when a lot of like the regular protesters start moving out, and then I guess like Antifa crowd or that like crowd of protesters starts moving in, the ones that fucking come like all black clothing and the masks and the fucking bats and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the majority of where the violence comes from.
Yeah,
I'd like to go to a protest myself and check it out. That'd be interesting.
and a lot of
Just talk to
local
some of the people there.
and a lot of local leadership is encouraging both the protests and the riots.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Chicago
yeah.
mayor has been encouraging both.
I think it comes down to most of these politicians are encouraging it.
Mm-hmm. And then you have headlines like this. I don't know who the hell John Cipher is. But you have the headline, Trump appears to be deliberately goading protesters into a violent response to feed his narrative that the white suburbs are threatened by anarchy and lawlessness from Democratic-controlled cities, and that he alone can protect them.
Which tweet is that?
I don't know. If you're watching a stream, it's up. John Cipher.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So they're trying to say Trump is making them be violent so then he can push a narrative that he needs to send federal troops in to protect the cities, which the only one that's been encouraging the riots has been local, not authorities, but local leadership, so like mayors,
Oh yeah.
some governors.
I think
He's
a lot
been
of
sending the federal troops mostly to protect federal buildings or monuments, especially buildings, in Portland especially, federal courthouse there. What were
I
you saying,
think
Morgan?
part of it with Trump too is though he's sending them into areas besides the federal buildings is he's sending them to areas where the mayors and governors are letting the violence get out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, defend your, do your jobs, protect your
Yep.
people. Otherwise, I'm gonna.
That's true. Like, I don't know how many, probably a month ago, he told them that. If you
Yeah.
don't get this under control, I will do it. And he gave them
Plenty of time.
plenty of time to do this.
And you
they
know
haven't
what?
done
If
it.
people want to protest or they want to riot and become violent, fine. Go into a field, just your group, and beat the shit out of each other. But
Sounds like a
leave,
good time.
leave other people alone.
No sense in destroying other people's private property. That's only gonna
Yeah.
It's only gonna hurt you guys. Businesses are gonna move out. Property value is gonna decrease.
Oh yeah.
Then you're gonna have to pay
Businesses,
more in
property
taxes
value.
because there's less businesses to pay that tax.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna be even more poverty stricken. And then local leadership still won't care.
That's right. As long as they're voted in, they don't care what happens.
Yep.
Which is why they support it, because they
Our
just want the
peaceful
votes.
So next we have Ranking Member Mr. Jordan questioning Attorney General William Barr.
Are peaceful protests violent, Mr. Attorney General?
No,
Do peaceful protests destroy businesses?
no,
Do peaceful protests injure officers?
no,
Do peaceful protests attack civilians?
no,
Do peaceful protests burn down buildings?
no.
I was, the video we played, it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch to see that happening in our great country. But there was the start of it was almost laughable, where you have the reporter saying, as a building is burning behind him, it's not generally speaking an unruly protest. It's mostly just a protest. I mean, it's almost laughable when you have the reporter saying, I guess he's saying it's not a fire, it's just a burning building. I guess he's saying it's a peaceful burning building. A few weeks ago, well, let me ask you this. I want to go right to this. Is defunding the police a rational policy?
No, I think, if anything, I'm more concerned that the police be adequately funded today and get more resources. A lot of the things we need to do to address some of the concerns people have about what they saw in Minneapolis are going to take some resources, some of the training that we have to do. And one of the difficulties in our country, it's not a difficulty, it's a fact, we have 18,000 law enforcement agencies. Most of them are very, very small. And so we have to find a way of training, making sure the training is pushed out.
Is it dangerous? Dangerous to defund the police?
It's extremely dangerous.
Extremely dangerous. And some of the ordinances you're seeing cities pass are also dangerous. Are you familiar with the letter that Chief of Police of Seattle, Carmen Best, sent to business owners and residents in that city?
Yes, I am saying that, she cannot protect she can't do her job. Her police force cannot do the job because
That's exactly what she said. Gives officers the policy they're trying to pass. Thank goodness the court stopped it. The policy they're trying to pass gives officers no ability, and she emphasized no, not us, not you, Mr. Train, not me, gives officers no ability to safely intercede to preserve property in the midst of large, violent crowds. She also said in that letter, and again, she's taken the leadership and responsibility to tell the business owners, the citizens, that she's supposed to serve. She also tells them in that letter, I've done my due diligence on informing the council numerous times. So she's saying, I tried to tell them, these people won't listen to me. And then finally she says this, and this is the scary part. This is why it's so dangerous. She says this in her letter, Seattle police will have an adjusted deployment. That's a nice way of saying, you're on your own. We can't help you. That is how scary this defund the police. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. These same cities sent you a letter last week. The same week Chief of Police Best does this to the residents and citizens of her city. Her mayor sends you a letter blaming you, blaming the federal government for the violence that is happening in these cities. That is how ridiculous the left's position has become.
So we got that, and the video that he's talking about that he showed, I have somewhere here. I think it's right here.
Questioning.
This might be the full video. Sorry, guys.
I want to thank you for defending law enforcement, for pointing out what a crazy idea this defund the police policy, whatever you want to call it, is, and standing up for the rule of law. And frankly, we have a video we want to show that gets right to this point. Can we play that video,
Let's watch this video.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protesters.
Peaceful protest.
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 Peaceful protest. Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest.
Peaceful protesters.
On behalf of myself, my children, and the family of David Dorn, we'd like to thank friends, neighbors, co-workers, and the community for showing all the love and support we've suffered through the tragic loss of my husband, my beloved husband, David Dorn. We'd also like to thank St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department for their hard work and perseverance through this investigation, as well as Circuit Attorney's Office. He dedicated his life to the city of St. Louis, retiring at the rank of captain after 38 years of distinguishable service. Then as the chief of Moline Acres for almost 6 years. During those years, he's touched so many lives as a friend, mentor, co-worker, and guardian. His life was senselessly taken from me, from us, by an opportunist who had no regards for human life or the law. This didn't have to happen, but it must have been God's plan for David. We need to come together as a community and do better. We need to teach our young people that life is very precious. We as a family are going to be taking some time to focus our attention on healing, which is very important as we move forward. We would like David's legacy to be remembered as a loving husband, father, grandfather, brother, uncle, friend, colleague, and most importantly, a child of God. I want to thank you all for coming, and God bless you all.
That's the wrong! Oh, shit!
Tell me what to do.
Well, I hope that Mr. Jordan will never complain about the length of my opening statement. Without objection, I am going to insert the committee's audio-visual policy into the record of this hearing and note that the minority did not give the committee the 48-hour notice required by that policy. Without objection, all other opening statements will be...
So...
They objected to the fact that they had factual videotaped evidence.
So, Ranking Member Jordan used his opening statement to show this video to everyone because everyone thinks that it's some magical wonderland and nothing's going wrong. And they threw it out so they could no longer discuss it because they didn't show it to them 48 hours ahead of time. Because they don't want to talk about facts. They have a specific agenda that they're trying to push. So now let's look at some more peaceful protest videos. This is a Mercedes dealership.
They're doing things like writing Eat the Red, doing all this, but I don't see them going to the NFL stars or NBA stars' homes and burning them to the ground.
So there's the Mercedes-Benz dealership. What the hell did Mercedes-Benz do to you guys? Besides being overpriced.
Some goddamn Italians.
Eh.
I mean, I like Mercedes-Benz.
Mercedes is Germans.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're German. German
Yeah,
engineers.
Mercedes is
German, yeah.
So,
Not Italian.
either way, I mean,
Same thing.
yeah.
And guess what? We got more. So this brings us to part of our next topic. The federal police that were being dispatched to these various areas are rolling around in rental vans. Could you guess why?
Probably so they roll up in a police vehicle, everybody's gonna fucking scatter.
Well, could also be because they were defunded, so they don't have the vehicles anymore because they don't have the budget for them.
Oh, I don't have the
so
video.
they have to go to budget rental car.
That's one thing, yes. The other thing is, like Joey pointed out, anyone that sees a police car, that police car is immediately going to get attacked. Whereas this thing, they can just stroll right up, just like they're regular people. And you know what? I might be getting old, but look at how much space this van has. Look how many people get out of this van.
They are roomy.
So that's like 4 or 5 people in the back of that van. One of them's in handcuffs. I have a better video that starts a little bit earlier that we can show. So yeah, it's just a rental van, because if they had a police van, it'd be on fire within probably 5 minutes.
I wouldn't even
And
give it 5 minutes.
props to NYPD. They're doing this. This is what anyone with a brain does. If you're a biker, like bicycle biker, if a dog attacks you, this is exactly what you do. You hold the bike like this because the bike is a shield between you and the dog, and it's great for riot control as well because it's a big object. You can kind of have a little bit of distance between you and the other person, but you're still vulnerable to your upper body and head, so it's not perfect. So this is the same video, just a little bit earlier and a different angle. So obviously they had a reason to stop this man. And these guys do not give a shit. This guy almost got fucked. And then NYPD here comes in to help him out, try to protect him. But see how they snuck in there with an unmarked car? They just snuck right in. Nobody really noticed.
Those dudes not have any badges or anything on.
They probably had a badge, but like the car itself is unmarked. I'm pretty sure they had a
That
badge
didn't
or
look like
something.
the
Let me
guys
see.
had any badges or anything. One of
Let's
them had
see.
a vest on, but it was pure black. Didn't have any,
I'm guessing that they have a badge on their belt or something.
It's a little sus.
Yeah.
And, like completely unmarked officers nabbing people off the street, especially for feds.
I would.
You know, if New
I'm
York's like allowing
100%
officers
okay
to be
with
like,
that.
You know, New York's like allowing officers to come in and like they're asking for help from them, or no for the feds.
Probably no.
It's De Blasio. He's
De Blasio thinks it's rainbows
freaking
and
out.
unicorns.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a tiny bit sus having like unmarked federal agents just nab people and throw them in a van.
Well, it's probably under the federal thing for for like the monuments and everything. They're not just gonna
I do
nab.
remember
They didn't
that
nab anyone
person-
else. They came specifically for that person.
And that person was released, I think it was 5 hours later.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard some reports they're like nabbing people and then asking them pretty much if they want to like do a plea bargain to plead guilty, and if they say no and they ask for a lawyer, they just like release them. I've seen some posts saying.
Yeah, I don't know how true that is.
Yeah.
They probably want to try to figure out who's organizing a lot of this stuff.
That's part of it.
And the other thing is,
but
if they get charged with only nonviolent crimes, especially New York State, you can walk, bail,
yeah,
anything. And
actually, it's not. No, there's no bail anymore either.
yeah,
in,
and
like, in
on
New
top
York.
of that, in other states too, you have wealthy people that will pay your bail if you get arrested for rioting and stuff like that too. So those people that are talking about the plea deals, I mean, they could have just had someone pay for their bail. They could have snitched, and you would never know. So that's going to bring us to a federal agent restraining a woman while quote-unquote kneeling on her neck. But if you'll notice, her arms are underneath her, which is, first of all, it's actively resisting. And then second of all, if your arms are underneath you, you have space in between your body and the ground. You can breathe. And obviously, just give him your hands. Let him put you in
That'd be,
cuffs, and then you'll be
passive.
on your way. Or passive.
If they're just like not giving you their arms, yeah.
Yeah, passive. So let's watch it. You're right, passive.
Why are you doing this? What?
So they have the one arm, and they're trying to get the other one, but she's still keeping it up underneath her chest. And they're not really on her neck. He's sitting on her, maybe her ass he's sitting on, and he's just holding her down, making sure that she doesn't stand up.
And he's on her
it looks like he's on
shoulder.
her like shoulder.
And she's saying that she can't breathe.
See, unfortunately, this is the go-to thing.
This is now, yeah, this is now the go-to.
That's the go-to thing, plus the fact of all of them are, as soon as they say anything like that, in many states, it's automatic medical attention. You're transported straight to the hospital.
So they're still trying. He's struggling with control with one hand, and the other guy's just trying to hold her down.
Yeah, it all comes back to like training. Like you have to have the ability to control somebody and get them under control as fast as possible.
So then this is a video of her. She has a bloody nose. Obviously, you saw her resisting.
Like shoulder strikes could have been used right there to try to get her to put her arm back. But
Something,
probably
or
people are just gonna.
Or comply.
Yeah, but from the cops' point of view, well,
yeah.
like if you do like shoulder strikes, and that's the problem with like strikes, is that they can be a lot more damaging than like say like a chokehold if you use them correctly. Like strikes used correctly are a lot more damaging than chokeholds.
And that would be
Also-
pushed as a narrative of them abusing people.
Exactly, and that's the problem is you see him holding her shoulders down, where if you see him striking her shoulders, he's attacking an unarmed
That's
woman.
assault. Yeah, exactly. They would push that narrative. I think that was a really good restraint and control of that. I think it was Border Patrol officer. I don't know how they put up with this bullshit. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know how any of these officers are putting up with this shit. I would resign day one. I would not deal with any of this shit.
It has gotten bad enough last night in my area, in the city just down the road from me. An officer was off duty and shot and killed someone. Now, he came upon him stabbing a woman. I don't know all the details fully yet, but I know the woman and the officer are in critical condition in the hospital, is what I heard. Which means he probably tried to stop him and ended up getting stabbed, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
He shot and killed the suspect off duty. There was immediately riots and protests.
Of course.
He saved a woman's life from being murdered, and he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
So next thing, we have police officers trying to clear a street. There's a woman that's passively resisting leaving the street, so they give her a little shove and tell her to get going, and then a third-party person comes over and tackles the officer, and I hope he spends at least a couple days in jail before some rich asshole pays his bill.
Lineman, Jesus Christ.
Technically, that should be felony assault on an officer.
I need to restart my browser here. There we go.
Would it be felony or would it be
So here we go.
Depends on the
Twitter.
state. But...
Yeah.
What are you doing, Twitter?
Yeah, that dude came in fucking
Okay,
flying.
so we
He
got,
got
so they
his ass
just
under
shove
control
her.
quick.
They shove her. Because they need to be leaving. And then this idiot comes,
Yeah, see,
knocks
that's
over some
felony
cops.
assault.
He starts swinging. They start beating his ass. I'm glad they start beating his ass. You know what?
That other cop just fucking watched that happen. He did not try
See,
to
and
fight that dude. Did you see
this
that?
woman who's on the ground,
Oh, let me
who's
pause
now
it.
kicking the officer, should be going to jail because she attempted
Yes.
to grab the weapon from the officer.
And just so y'all know, so people don't bitch, these green shotguns are not real guns. Those are bean bags. Okay? Or it might be pepper.
Probably beanbag. Pepper
Yeah,
pepper
most
balls would
likely.
be pretty.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know if they use pepper balls
if
with
they
shotguns.
use
Or rubber.
live rounds, it would be more deterrent.
It definitely would.
Dude.
Because guess what? These people would not be doing this if they knew there was double-aught buckshot in those guns.
Yep.
That cop just fucking watched that dude plow into that
yeah.
officer.
Okay.
Finally, I want to address
this is
a different breakdown in the rule.
So this is Attorney General Barr speaking about the protests and riots and how people think that cops should be defunded instead of like the truth of the matter and what would actually help this situation.
Of law that we've witnessed over the past 2 months. In the wake of George Floyd's death, violent rioters and anarchists have hijacked legitimate protests to wreak senseless havoc and destruction on innocent victims. The current situation in Portland is a telling example. Every night for the past 2 months, a mob of hundreds of rioters have laid siege to the federal courthouse and other nearby federal property. The rioters have come equipped for fight, armed with powerful slingshots, tasers, sledgehammers, saws, knives, rifles, and explosive devices. Inside the courthouse are a relatively small number of federal law enforcement personnel charged with a defensive mission to protect the courthouse. What unfolds nightly around the courthouse cannot reasonably be called protest. It is, by any objective measure, an assault on the government of the United States. As elected officials of the federal government, every member of this committee, regardless of your political views or your feelings about the Trump administration, should condemn violence against federal officers and the destruction of federal property.
And I 100% agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
There is a legitimate protest happening, and there is hundreds upon hundreds of people hijacking this protest and for personal gains. And the problem is people are not doing anything about it. And when you don't do anything about something that's violent, it gets worse and worse because they go, oh, look what we can do and get away with. So then they're going to keep doing it and keep doing it. And it's been happening for 2 months straight, every single day in places like Portland and probably other cities too.
Let me point out 2 other things. Number one, regarding Portland and what he was just saying is, one, it only happens at night. There's a reason for that. Number 2 is, all of these protests and all these people getting violent and throwing things, you notice, and now mind you, I understand the situation, but it aids to it, is all of them are wearing masks. Now, it's the norm of you have to wear a mask for health reasons. Okay, but this is giving them anonymity, where they don't have to worry about their identity I'm sorry, if you feel that just in what you're doing, take the mask off.
Mm-hmm.
Show everybody who you are when you're doing this.
There's a lot of past civil rights activists that definitely did not hide their face. They were proud of what they were doing.
And I'm sorry, but if you watch most of these rioters and the violent ones and everything, they're not just wearing medical masks. They're covering their entire face and any distinguishable features.
They got helmets even. They got plywood shields.
That right there says you do not feel morally just in what you're doing. Because you're afraid to be found out who you are.
And you know that there is going to be some type of response because you're breaking the law. So they're preparing for things like tear gas and rubber bullets.
Right, and not to go to jail after the fact. That's just personal opinion, obviously, but I'm sorry. If you feel that just in what you're doing, you take ownership of it. And you stand up for what you believe. You don't hide.
And then the next topic we got, 2 NFL players were arrested for armed robbery. And we were talking about this a little bit last show, about how athletes, especially in the NFL, get away with a lot of shit and they still get paid. And it's not a good example for kids that look up to the athletes. So these guys got arrested, not just like suspected. They got arrested for armed robbery and charged for armed robbery, I'm pretty sure. And
they were
all
charged.
the NFL did was put them on paid leave. In my opinion, and I'm pretty sure Warrior 2, probably Joey, they should be fired. That is a horrible example for the league.
At least in the minimum, automatically suspended without pay, pending the outcome of the court investigation.
Yeah, that's better. That's better, yeah.
I don't know, the NFL is just full of fucking wife beaters anyway, so...
Well, exactly.
This is nothing new.
Yeah,
but this also pays to the fact of, alright, these guys are paid millions of dollars, and they're committing armed robbery. Why? You don't need the money.
Yeah.
And this goes back to also the protesters writing "Eat the Rich" and when they're attacking the Mercedes dealership. Why aren't people like this being targeted by the rioters if they're so concerned about the rich and inequality?
They're more rich than anyone that works
making, they're making $30 million contracts or whatever, but yet they're okay.
Yeah.
The whole premise of their argument makes no sense.
There's a big disconnect between celebrities and like reality.
That dude has a net worth of $80 million.
Yeah.
Which one?
DeAndre Baker. Jesus Christ.
Okay. Sorry. If you want to eat some rich, there you go. That's pretty fucking rich.
Yeah, that's pretty. In all accounts, that's pretty privileged. I don't have $80 million. Do you guys have $80 million?
Not currently. Let me check my portfolio.
Yeah.
Let me check my offshore Swiss bank account.
Yeah. And then let me go rob somebody.
Yeah. I don't see any reason that he would rob. Either of them would rob anyone.
No.
Yeah,
so we got our last 2 stories here. They're both going to be good news. We close every show with good news if you guys have been paying attention. So we have a 6-year-old named Bridger that stepped in between his little sister and a dog that was attacking them, and he saved both of their lives. And he said, if anyone had to die, it should be me. Which, if you're a big brother, you're like, damn, this kid is badass. Actually, if you're anybody, you're like, this kid is badass. A lot of people are kind of being stupid and making it into some gender thing. I don't think it's really a gender thing. I think it's just because he's the older sibling. I don't really think it's because he's a man that he thinks he's less valuable.
No.
I think it's because he's the older sibling.
It's an older brother protecting his younger sister. That's all it is. It's family. And that's the problem, is that word nowadays means nothing to almost anybody, the term family.
Yeah. So then, the superhero kid gets surprise video chats with a few very important people. First one here being Tony Stark.
You're a rock star.
Tony Stark, quote unquote.
My name's Robert Downey Jr. I played Tony Makes me an old friend of Cap's. I hear he sent his shields your way. I'm gonna do one better. You call me on your next birthday. I got something special for you. Late. By the way, that's promise. Promise beats a shield.
Oh, the smile at the end makes me happy. So, I had them out of order. I apologize. But I want to know what the hell he's going to give this kid. Because, damn, if he gives him, like, an official, like, Iron Man suit or something, that would be badass.
Yeah, he's probably going to give him, like, a fucking working Iron Man
Almost
suit.
guarantee Iron Man's going to show up at his next birthday.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So here was the first video.
Like fucking Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah. Here's the first video. This is Captain America. And I love how in a couple of these he's actually dressed up like the character that he's video chatting to.
Oh, yeah.
This is a message for Bridger. Hey, Bridger. Captain America here. How you doing, buddy? So I read your story. I saw what you did. Now, I'm sure you've heard a lot of this over the last couple days, but let me be the next one to tell you, pal, you're a hero. What you did was so brave, so selfless. Your sister is so lucky to have you as a big brother. Your parents must be so proud of you. I'm going to track down your address, and I'm going to send you an authentic Captain America shield because, pal, you deserve it. Keep being the man you are. We need people like you. Hang in there. I know recovery might be tough, but based on what I've seen, I don't think there's much that can slow you down. Bye, buddy.
What do you think, kiddo?
I thought it was awesome.
How do you feel about that shield?
He's gonna send you an official, real Captain America shield. What? And hang it on your wall. We can attack bad guys. Take it to a jiu-jitsu tournament. That's probably against the rules. Huh?
Wherever you go. Wherever you go. I don't think that's a good idea.
And then we have Spider-Man gave him a video chat.
Well,
who are you watching?
That would be correct.
What movie are you watching right now?
Yeah, what movie's on your TV right now?
Spider-Man.
No, wait, which one?
Homecoming.
Oh, you're even more of a hero now. What? Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the first one or the second one?
Second.
Oh, well, that's always a good goal for us, is to try and make the second one better than the first one. We're going to be shooting Spider-Man 3, and if you ever want to come to set and hang out and see the Spider-Man suit up close and hang out with us, you're always welcome. You'll always be my guest.
You can go see the Make a Spider-Man movie. He just invited you.
For real, bud?
He's really starstruck, but thank you so much.
You should be so proud of yourself, and your sister is a very, very lucky little girl to have a big brother like you.
So now he gets to go to the Spider-Man set. That is freaking awesome, and he absolutely deserves that.
Oh yeah, he does. That kid's great.
And then this is the last picture. So he got 90 stitches.
Jesus.
That is a shit ton of stitches, and I am glad that he's okay. I'm glad that his sister's okay. That's a hero, right there.
Yeah, it is. Most adults wouldn't step in and take that.
And the last thing, we have a bear in a little kiddie pool, chilling out on a hot day. Look at that smile the bear has. And
so cute.
then he just dunks right in. That's a big bear, dang.
Yeah, it is not a little boy.
Yeah, so that's it for today's episode. So thank you for watching. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask now.